time for round 3. This week we're headed to China for the Cup of China event in Beijing. It's the third stop on the Grand Prix series, and these are my U.S. figure skating fantasy picks. This time we'll start things off with the men. So for my A team, I went with Brian Joubert of France over Takahiko Kazuka from Japan, as well as Thomas Werner. This one could go any way, really, but I think Brian's going in a good direction with a new coach this season, as well as more of a classical style for his music choices, and I think he's coming off of a bad season last year that didn't end how he wanted it to, and he's going to be looking for a bit of redemption. He seems to be in a good place right now, I think. So, Brian Joubert for my A team. For the B team, I went with Brandon Moroz, the American. Again, I think he's skating with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder from last season, not making the Olympic team, and I really like what he brings to the ice, and I think he's got a lot going for him. Look for him to do well this season. And for the C team, I chose the man from China, Zhiliang Wu. He's coming off of a 7th place finish at his other Grand Prix so far this season, and I think he's going to be looking to improve upon that, as will the others in this category, but I'm going with the man from China. Next, let's look at the pairs predictions. This one was a little bit of a toss-up for me in the A category, but I ended up going with Amanda Evora and Mark Ladvik of the U.S. over the Russians. They're coming off of a win at Skate Canada, but I think it wasn't a clean win, and it wasn't perfect, and I think they're still very young, and they have a lot to work on and a lot to improve upon. Amanda and Mark are coming off of a very successful season and looking to kind of show everybody that they belong in the top of the international ranking. So I'm kind of going out on a limb and pulling for Amanda and Mark at this event. For my B team, the other Americans, Caitlin Jankowskis and John Coughlin, they're coming off of a strong 4th place finish at NHK Trophy, where they just barely missed the podium. They had a fabulous long. If they can put together a clean short, I think they'll be good to go here. And in the C team, I went with the Chinese pair. Chinese and pairs are kind of synonymous with doing well, and skating at home in China, I think Dong and Wu will have the slight edge in the C category. So those are the pairs picks. Ice dance is always the last in these predictions, so we're going to change things up and slide them in now. My A team for this event could have gone either way, and I really think it could go either way. But in this case, I gave a slight edge to the French team simply because they've competed these programs already this season. They've put scores out and they know where they need to improve, and especially in things like a short dance where you have the very specific golden waltz elements, the more polish you can put on those things, the better your scores are going to be. And the more you compete them, the more polish you'll have. So my edge is to the French team just slightly on this one. In the B team, I went away from Madison and Kiefer Hubble, the young Americans. I think they really have a great shot of doing well here, but I went with the Hungarians, actually, Nora Hoffman and Maxim Zavazin, who have put up scores that are just a bit better than the Americans so far this season, and if they continue on that trend and improve upon the scores they've already put out, they will have, again, a slight edge over the Americans. Then in my C team, here I did go with the young American team, making their senior debut at this event in China. Isabella Canusian and Ian Lorello from America, and they have a lot of potential, and I feel like they have a great chance at making this a strong debut for them at this event. Okay, I cannot put it off any longer. The ladies. This one was so difficult for me because my heart was telling me one thing, my head was telling me another, and it ended up all confused, and I finally just made a pick despite the reality or the likelihood of it, and, we'll see how it ends up. So, for my A team, I went with Mirai Nagasu of the U.S. over Miki Ando and Akiko Suzuki. I know this may seem like a risky choice, but I feel like Mirai was on a very, very good uphill trend at the end of last season. What I've seen from Miki looks good. Akiko Suzuki is always kind of a wild card. If she skates well, she has a lot of potential, but I feel like Mirai's program components may push her over the edge here in this competition, and I would love for her to have a really strong start to the season after a great Olympics for her. So in the B team, I went with another American, Amanda Dobbs. She surprised everybody last year by finishing 4th at 4 continents, 6th at the U.S. Championships, and I think that she has a really good shot of making a big splash internationally this year, so we'll see how well that prediction holds up, but we're going to go with Amanda Dobbs this week for my B team. And on the C team, I went with Josie Helgeson. This one, a bit of a toss-up for me, no one really standing out, but I guess that's why it's fantasy picks. You just gotta go with something and see how it works. These picks for the ladies event have been making or breaking me so far, so instead of trying to overanalyze too much, I kind of just went with my heart this week. We'll see how well that works out, because I haven't done so hot in the ladies competition so far. Maybe my luck will turn around here. And there you have it, another week of fantasy picks in the books. Did you make predictions this week? Did you have a fantasy team? Do you think that I'm completely off base on some of these picks? Or do you think I'm completely right on? Either way, feel free to leave me a comment, tweet me on Twitter, or send me a comment on my blog, or to my email, anything that you can think of, and let me know how you think this weekend is going to turn out in Beijing. We will compare notes after the weekend is over.